Girlfriends, it's that time. It's that time for another interview. And I am so excited for our interview today. It is being brought to you all the way from Morocco, Africa. Yes. So I'm so thrilled to have our guest today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her in just a moment, but first let me let you know about this platform. So this is Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry. That's me. And this platform is to give voice to those of the African diasporic homeschooling community. Basically, we are here to say hashtag we homeschool too. And our kids are thriving and doing well. We're making it happen. So many different looks and flavors and shapes, if you will, and how we're making this happen in our lives, because we feel like educating our own is of the most importance. So we're making it happen. So I am also a homeschool mom of 19 years to 8 children, 3 of whom have graduated and 5 of whom I'm still homeschooling. My purpose-driven life is to make a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide. And I do that first serving the community in my state of South Carolina, where I give families legal status to homeschool, and then to these other platforms, Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling, the podcast that's associated with this platform, which is Girlfriend's Chat, Educating Our Own, which is another platform. All of those are for those of the African diaspora community, the Homeschool Upstart podcast, and my association, United Community of Homeschoolers Unlimited. So you see, my life is all things homeschooling. I love it, and encouraging those to do it. All right. So that's a little bit about me. I guess I'm a vegan, and we have a little farm. We make our home in the upstate of South Carolina in the mountains. So I think that's about everything. But otherwise, okay, that's enough about me. Let's talk about our guest, our beautiful guest today, who is in Morocco. Let me tell you a little bit about her. But first, I have to ask, this is the magic question, Shekinah. Are you ready to make it happen?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, so let's do it. All right, so Worldschooling in Africa. This is Shekinah McKinstry. After an unexpected turn of events last year, Shekinah McKinstry is grateful to now have the freedom to live in North Africa with her husband and 3 beautiful children while traveling, unschooling, and strengthening family ties. The McKinstry tribe has adopted the Japanese philosophy of manners before knowledge, which primarily focuses on installing respect, proper etiquette, and developing character until the 4th grade. Shekinah turns every moment into a teaching moment and uses travel to encourage cultural awareness. Her goal is to gain international wisdom, increase compassion, and develop superior social etiquette in their children and herself. She enjoys a nice glass of wine, creative writing, and is obsessed with the sound of complete silence. This is my soul sister. I love silence. So without further ado, Shekinah, I have shared just a little bit about yourself with the girlfriends. Please share anything else you'd like us to know, and tell us how you actually got started in your homeschooling journey.
Well, I don't really know where to start, but I'm just gonna go with the flow.
Yeah.
Since I was about age 4, I always told my parents, specifically my mother, that I wanted to be a housewife and I wanted to homeschool. I always said, I want to have 12 children and I want to teach them everything. So, the 12 children, that has kind of come down. The number has come down. But my aspirations, they never changed over the years. I always did, still want to get married, and I wanted to be able to homeschool our children. And, you know, over time, I added, okay, I just want to travel the world. I want to see everything, you know, that I can see.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I always said that I wanted to live in Africa, you know, since I was a small child too. I said, I just want to go to Africa. I want to live in Africa. I just want to be in a little village where I can walk and go get my fruits and vegetables. And, you know, I can just run around with the children and they're just free. I always just saw Africa as freedom. So I just saw it as freedom. So really, in a way, I guess I'm living my dreams. Even though, you know, I kind of got here in an unconventional way, but, you know, I'm just kind of seeing how things work together. They just work together to bring you to destiny. Yeah. So our children have always been homeschooled. I'm sorry, Mrs. Angela, am I looking at you or am I looking at you this way?
If you hold your head up, you're looking directly at me. If you hold your head down, you're just looking into the camera. So yes, you're looking at me that way. Yes.
Okay. I just had to make sure. Okay, so our children have always been homeschooled. I've been married for 2 years now. But even before I got married, I started homeschooling because it's just what I knew I wanted to do and I had to do. So even as, I guess I'm saying this because even as a single mom, you know, if it's something that somebody wants to do, it can still be done until you get to where you want to be. You know, you just have to tell yourself that you have options and you can still do whatever you want to do. You know, now it wasn't that easy. You know, I was living in a nice apartment, but I ran like a little home daycare. I wasn't making a lot of money, you know, but we had everything we needed. Okay. Everybody was happy, but I was homeschooling, and that's all. That's all that mattered to me at that point. I just knew I had to homeschool because I worked at daycares. I babysat children from public schools, and the things that I saw, the stories that I heard from first graders and second graders, I'm like, no. If there's one thing that I can control, it's this. Yeah. It's this, you know. So I'm gonna control this one part of my life. So I did it. I did it even before I was married. It was a personal thing to me, and even my husband. You know, I told him before we got married, you know, what I was doing and what I wanted to continue to do, and if this was something that he would support before we even continued on. Because I just had to do it. And so I just knew I needed somebody to be able to support that endeavor and not say, no, you got to go and do this. You can't homeschool these children. I couldn't do it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Tell us, what are the ages or grade levels, if you will, of your children? And so how long have you been homeschooling?
Okay, well, we have an 18-month-old, 5 years old, and 8 years old. 8 years old. So,
and how long have you been schooling since the oldest was 4, 5?
Yes. Since the oldest was 5.
Okay.
And so when I first started, you know, I was always reading all of these books and trying to do everything so perfectly. You know, because I guess I was thinking about my own life, and I was like the star student. I went to like an academy for the artistic and academically talented. I'm like, yes, my children have to be just like that. You know, there were these standards in my mind of all these things that I had to do. And now it's kind of like, okay, all of that is out of the window.
Well, that's good. I'm curious. So, you know, homeschooling now for 3 years, you had these high standards and expectations of homeschooling. And now, you know, versus your education, you're saying, no, those things are not important. And even in your bio, you said that, you know, the first years up until 4th grade, the focus is on, you know, etiquette and how, you know, manners and that type of thing. So what was the major pivotal point to be like, nope, I don't want that. This is what I want. And who cares about all these expectations for academia has set. This is what I want for my kids. What was the shift and why did that shift happen?
Okay. Well, the shift actually just happened in the last year, to be completely honest.
Okay.
In the last year, because honestly, it just became too overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It became too overwhelming trying to keep up with so much because I tried so many different methods in the beginning. And our oldest child specifically, he is our most unique child. He's very, very near and dear to our hearts. No, he really is, because he was the one to challenge me, like, yeah, all this stuff that you're trying to do, I'm a different type of breed, and the way I learn is how you have to teach me.
Okay.
So it was more of like a humbling thing, like, okay, if you're trying to teach this child, you actually have to teach him the way that he needs to be taught and not the way that you want to teach him. Mm-hmm. So that, you know, tore down all the stuff that I had planned that I thought was going to work, you know, and I realized that, especially transitioning from a single mom to a now married woman, we had a lot of transitions to do family-wise. You know, we had a lot of work to do, that it made me realize that, okay, I got a lot of stuff that I need to put on the back burner to really focus on our family.
Yeah.
To focus on our family and making sure that we're blending well and that everybody is happy and that we're actually functioning before I keep trying to pile on all of this other stuff, because the knowledge will come. You know, and the knowledge will come, but we need this foundational stuff to be okay. We need these, you know, these family bonds. We need to be trusting each other. We need to be loving each other, and not just geniuses.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And that is some wisdom right there from a 3-year long homeschooling journey mom thus far. That's wisdom right there. I'm curious as well, Shekinah, how long have you been in Morocco? Let's transition to homeschooling where you are now. How long have you been in Morocco?
We have been in Morocco since the end of January. Okay,
so not quite a year yet, so fairly new. All right, so let's talk about Worldschooling. How did this even happen? How did this come about, that you were fortunate to be in this you know, status that you're in now?
Okay. It's just so crazy. Even when I, you know, think about it now, I'm like, is this really happening?
Right.
As I mentioned in my bio, you know, some crazy things happened last year. And it put our family in a very tough position. Okay. So when we had the opportunity to come visit, because we visited France first. Okay. And then we had the opportunity to come here, in Morocco. And it was such a wild time for us. We were just like, we liked it so much. We said, we just want to stay here. We did. We said, we don't want to go back.
Wow. Was it employment that took you all there, or was it just traveling and you ended up there? How did you end up there in Morocco?
Okay, it was actually last year there was a group of us doing travel study in France and Morocco.
Okay.
And so our family, due to the events that took place, our family missed the whole trip with everybody else.
Okay.
We didn't get to go with the rest of the people because we were going through all of these things back home, trying to get them situated, trying to get our names cleared. It was wild. We missed the whole trip, and we had already paid for it and everything.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, but we were still, so when we had the opportunity to still come, it turned into, okay, you can stay as long as you want. You can stay as long as you want versus the travel study group that originally came. They stayed for like a week. They visited France and then came to Morocco for maybe 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
And then returned back to France and then went back to the U.S.
Gotcha.
And so, but we missed all of it. And we were just like bummed, like, oh my God. But we had the opportunity to still come. And I just believe that it was supposed to work out that way.
Wow.
As wild as it sounds, at the time it was devastating.
Gotcha.
But I believe that it was supposed to be more than just a good time for us. Even travel study, I believe that this is where we were supposed to be. And if we would have went, we would have just came back and, went back to our regular lives.
Right. Right.
But we ended up coming and we stayed. We stayed because I just had such a sense of peace. Because I was dealing with so much anxiety. Like I was just scared to do anything. I was just scared to do anything. I was even scared to go out of my front door, back in the U.S. because things were so bad.
Gotcha.
So when we came here, to France and in Morocco, I was just like, there's nothing to worry about. Literally, there's nothing to worry about. Now, these people may have their own problems, but you don't know about them.
Right. I agree with you. And when I went to Ghana at the beginning of this year, I'll also be heading back in October in just a couple of months. I remember not having any fear or concern, and there was police stops all over the place. I mean, they not stops, but they have random set up barriers where you have to just stop or whatever, and never feeling this sense of fear and worry, or even walking on the street. So it is so different, and it's so interesting when you mention to people that you're in or going to Africa, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, lions, tigers, and bears! Are you not afraid?" I mean, they think it's a jungle all over, and they think you're going to get harmed or shot or something. And I'm going to tell you, in comparison to being in America versus in Africa, the fear level in America is like out the roof, where in this foreign country where you're welcomed and loved. I don't know how your experience in Morocco was so warming and endearing, and the fact that you can sleep with your doors unlocked and all this kind of stuff without any fear. Such a huge difference, right? Such a huge difference. Let me ask you this. What has your homeschooling been like there? Have you started any traditional schooling? I know you mentioned that you're doing this focus on manners and etiquette and that type of thing. Have you focused in any traditional school? What does how does your life look like in Morocco as you're homeschooling?
Okay, so definitely I have not focused on any traditional school. Because the thing is, you just learn that you just have to take it day by day.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay. I think this is a test for me to just learn to be okay with whatever is happening, and that because I'm a very organized, scheduled, detailed person. I like things to be very particular. And if they're not, I would just lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but when you wake up and you don't know what the day is going to bring, except inside of your own home. Yes, you can control that, but you just kind of have to be okay. And especially with, children going through this transition, being away from the place that they call home,
right,
being away from family members, being away from the children that they call friends, being away from their home, their toys, their backyard, their beds. And these are the things that they mention to me,
Okay.
So they're in a place of just like, okay, I need time to figure this out too. So it really wasn't even a good idea for me to even try to stress, okay, we're going to do this today. And I did try for like 2 weeks, but it wasn't a good idea because it was too much tugging. And I've learned that especially our oldest son, he learns the best when it's just let him do him. Besides like, okay, reading and writing. Now we got to do those, but even those, I just kind of sneak in. I don't even let him know that I'm trying to teach him.
Okay.
I kind of had to like outwit him because he's been going through this phase like, okay, I just want to pull a little bit. I want to see. So I'm like, okay, let me just outsmart him altogether and not even let him know that I'm trying to teach you something.
Beautiful. And I did it because you mentioned that you are unschooling. So I understand that unschooling and with the flow of it. And I would imagine, you tell me if this is correct or not, being that you all have transitioned to this new culture, new country, foreign language. I don't know. What is Morocco's national language there?
Their national language is Arabic.
Arabic. Okay. So you're in a new culture, a new language, new surroundings. Everything's all new. And I would imagine that the best homeschooling would be just the acclimation to this new life and unschooling and taking in all the things. And then later at some point where all of that has been absorbed and the kids are settled and all the newness is kind of done and everyone feels, settled and a place of rest, then some traditional schooling can happen. Unless, you were to put them in public school. I mean, not public, they don't have public school in Africa, but, in one of the schools that are there. Is that a safe assessment, Shekinah?
That is a safe assessment because that's really, you can't escape from focusing on that, especially when, the children are wanting to interact, but that also forces them to want to learn the language versus you have to learn Arabic, you have to learn French, or I want you to learn Arabic, I want you to learn French. Now it's personal.
Right.
I would like to learn Arabic so I can talk to this little boy on the playground.
Beautiful.
Or even when they can't communicate, or if they can't communicate, they still find a way, verbally communicate, that they still find a way to get their point across, and they're playing, having a good time, kicking the soccer ball around. But that causes, especially our oldest son, to like the social etiquette I was speaking about, and wanting to uh, know how to relate to these people, these
Mhm.
these people in their home, in their country,
Right.
and to realize that he is the foreigner now, that he's the foreigner, and it's different. And to respect their surroundings and the differences, because at the different hours, because this is a Muslim country, you have these different hours that the prayer goes off,
Uh,
um, and you can hear it all around, and having to be mindful of those things, and it's just so much to teach, and
yeah.
you really don't even have to say much, because they just observe and they see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
It causes them to have questions that I can answer or my husband can answer, but we really don't even have to try to teach much. To teach much, even like I'm sitting outside now of this cafe that I was just in. You don't hear any people. You don't hear much noise because it's very quiet. It's quiet even when it's loud.
Wow. Interesting.
And so the children learn we have to be quiet when we go places. This is not America where we can scream at the top of our lungs. Can't. Uh-oh.
You're good. I just unmuted you. I'm
Can
not
you
sure.
still hear me?
Yep, can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So they learn by just observing. We can't just go around disturbing the peace, you know, or
Yeah.
being too rambunctious. So they just kind of fall in line to what they see happening around them. Because in their mindset, if we do this, we're gonna stand out too much.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
We're gonna stand out too much. Not that it's a problem, but it's just not the way that they do things here. Even if children are loud, um, they're not loud. I can't really explain it. They're not loud, not in public places.
Wow.
Not in public places. So it kind of just forces them to, okay, wherever we go, we have to do what they're doing. Kind of like when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Absolutely. Adapt to the culture around them. Basically, that's what they're doing. And they're falling in line to the culture.
Yes, yes. And so I want them um, to know that. And so wherever they go, even as they get older, they'll have that awareness and that respect.
Yeah.
That wherever we go, we just have to be like the people wherever we go and not try to make it about us. And, kind of
Mhm.
how the tourists do. You know how tourists do.
I will say I know how Americans are. And even to be quite honest, I think I was having this conversation not too long ago. Even as Black Americans, while in our own country, in America, we may say that we are oppressed and we have all these things, and those things are true. But when we go to another country, oftentimes they don't see us as the Black oppressed Americans. They see us as Americans who are thriving, who have it all, who's doing great, and they are Americans almost, I don't say this in a bad way, but almost to be worshiped, but definitely honored, right? So that's how we're seen when we go to another country. And when we go to another country and we know that's how we're seen, we can become very pious because we're Americans and we can do how we want to do and we can act how we want to act and we can come with that attitude, and that's just as wrong. I only know that because I've traveled to many countries. I lived in Spain for a number of years and in Central America, so I know that feeling that you can fall into if you're not very careful, because we're so esteemed as Americans, not Black Americans, but as Americans, right? So I think that's great that they're learning that, and learning how to just be humbled, even as they're highly esteemed as Americans. So that's beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. Let me ask you this. Since you've been homeschooling there since, I say unschooling, Worldschooling is just totally different. What you've been doing as far as schooling the kids since January. What has been your proudest moment and experience, learning experience that you can say you all have had in your Worldschooling journey since you've been in Morocco, or even maybe in France, but in Morocco?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I feel like I've had a couple of them, more so. I like when I see that. I know I keep referring back to our oldest son, but he's been like my primary focus.
Sure.
Because well, our 5-year-old, he's more just laid back and he just does what everybody else is doing. Okay. But I guess because our oldest son too, he's older, so he's more aware.
Yeah,
and
more vocal.
Yeah, more vocal. Yes, ma'am. More vocal and wanting to do more and see more and understand. So I like when I have proud moments when he has like an epiphany or something. He has an epiphany and I'm like, oh my gosh, all our teaching and parenting is paying off here. Right? And so, and I'll document it. I'll write it down, for myself. So when I'm going through a moment like, what am I doing again? I go back and I read these things to encourage myself that it's leveling out, even if it's not always the way that I want it to look like. So I think back to what just passed here. It was like a national holiday that just passed here. I won't say the name of it because I can't say it right. So, but it was a big Muslim holiday, and like everybody, a lot of people were not working, and there was some construction going on next to where we live, and like every morning it would be so loud. Like it would just wake you up. It's so loud, because all of the trucks and they're building a hotel.
Okay.
So when the holiday came, though, the workers weren't there. They had a break for like 2 weeks. And so the very first morning that they were gone, our oldest son, he woke up and he looked out the window. Like I said, nobody had said anything to him, but he looked out the window. He said, "Oh, it's quiet out there. I think that the workers get to take a break because of this holiday that's going on." I hadn't said anything to him about it. He just noticed that they weren't working, and he put 2 and 2 together. He said, I think they get to take a break. And I said, you know what? I think you're right. I hadn't even thought about it. He said, well, I'm glad it's quiet out there. And he laughed, but then he also said, but I'm glad that they get to take a break too. They need a break. It's hot out there. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, he pays attention to everything. He's paying attention. He cares about people. Yeah, he's happy that it's quiet, but then he thought of them too, like, yeah, I'm happy to take a break.
Right. Beautiful.
So even though that's a small little moment, for our oldest son, that's monumental for him to to be thinking of others and not just, what he wants or how he would like things to be. And so that was a proud moment for me.
Beautiful. Way to go, mama. Woo, 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 woo. Small little baby steps. Small little baby steps, and our kids are transforming right before our eyes. And so I get it completely. It seems like small, but that's a huge, huge, huge manner and consideration development. Totally, totally get it. So, all right, well, girlfriends, let you know, this is Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling. If you're tuning in just now, be sure to hit the share button and get this amazing interview out as we are doing this live with Shekinah McKinstry in the house, out of house in Morocco, Africa, that. So you all hit the share button and be sure to get this out so other people who can hear this, they can hear this interview, one, can get encouraged to see, hey, this mom started off as a single homeschooling mom. It was her desire, her heartfelt desire to homeschool her children even before she even became married, and she made it happen. So that was, you got to go back to the beginning if you're just seeing this and hear how she said it was her desire and she made it happen. And then she was married, and then it's now homeschooling. But now another dream of hers that came true. This woman is a dream catcher for sure. She's living her dream. She is in Africa. This is the other thing she wanted to have, live in Africa and homeschool her children, all 12 of them. She don't have 12, she got 3. She got a long ways to go. She need to get moving, right? But this is a part of the show where we transition Shekinah to questions. These are quick questions to pick your brain. Just give your insights and your thoughts, and we'll keep them short, okay? So what has been your favorite quote that has helped you through your homeschooling journey in general, or specifically while in Morocco?
Oh my gosh, my favorite quote. Let's see. Okay, one just came to my mind, and it's very, very simple. It's kind of personal. I think it goes something like, when you get tired, don't quit. Just take a rest. Just take a rest, that keeps me going. Like, you don't really have to quit when things get crazy or you get just take a rest and then start again. Even if it's the next day.
Simple and sweet. I get it. Do you plan to homeschool all the way through the end with your children?
Yes.
What is something unique that is unique to the McKinstry homeschooling that you're like, probably no other homeschooling family does this? Share something that's very unique to you all.
I think, now I could be wrong, but I feel like, as I mentioned in our bio, the focus for those first years, because I think a lot of most homeschoolers, they just want to, get into it or however. But I think we're a lot different in that aspect, because I haven't heard of a lot of people, specifically, Black families, doing that.
Yeah.
Doing that, which I'm not saying, that they're right or they're wrong, but I really hadn't even heard of it until somebody introduced me to the whole concept. I'm like, oh, we can actually do that. Yeah, you can do what you want when you're free.
Freedom, I tell you, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And we really focus on it. Like, I know I kind of made like a blanket statement, but like every day, like down to very, very specific things, to really create self-discipline, to where we don't even have to tell you anything. And by the time, they get to the 4th grade, we won't have to tell you anything. you
Absolutely.
know.
Absolutely.
And so and really just not being afraid to do that, because I think sometimes there can be a fear, like, well, what will happen if you don't have a structure, or if there's no curriculum? They won't learn, or they won't, what'll happen? But I'm like, I've studied, all these great inventors and these people in history that have done all these incredible things. They were unschooled. Their parents just gave them, okay, you want to do this? Let's go with it. You want to do that? Let's go with it. They didn't have any extreme molds to fit. And that's how we have, the Steve Jobs, and that's how we have the Albert Einstein and the George Washington Carver. That's how we have these people. And these are things that we use every day, from these people being allowed to have the space to be creative and just come up with whatever their mind goes.
Absolutely. I love it. And I agree with you. I could talk so much on that. I'm telling you, the first 7, 8 years of a kid's life, that is the most time you want to input all of those self-disciplines and disciplines and morals, if you will, or etiquettes. I like that word etiquette better, not morals, but etiquette within your child, because I'm telling you, now I can look at my children. I'm like, I am not disciplining you. You know the right thing to do. You all need to do it. You know what is expected, what's not expected. And that's because at the beginning, the focus was on all of what you just talked about. So now I don't intervene. And I say, if I do have to intervene, everybody's going to be unhappy, because I shouldn't have to do those things. You have enough knowledge here and training to be able to be self-directed. So, honey, way to go, young mama. Way to go. I love it. All right, let me ask you this. What is the best piece of advice you can give to a family who's considering world schooling in preparation to that? If someone wants to world school, what is the best piece of advice you could give them?
Okay, honestly, the best advice, I would say, I don't know if this is going to sound silly, but just to really make sure that the children are well behaved. I know, because it really, really matters when you come to other places. It really, really, really matters if children are not perfect. Of course, there's things that at different ages is developmentally appropriate. But it's very, very important for children to at least follow instructions the first time. And, no. And to teach children, this is before coming, to teach children when to speak and when to stay silent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying this because it kind of can determine how things go for you, unless you just plan to be sitting in your house or your apartment, wherever you are in the world, for the whole time.
Right.
Which I don't think that's anybody's plan. And so I'm just saying that to say that can kind of really make or break the experience. It really comes down to the children's behavior. The children's behavior. It really does, because you don't want to be in a foreign place and your children are all over the place.
Sure.
It's just not, it won't be easy. It just won't be easy, especially if you don't have the support of family or friends. it's very important, not just because it's important for safety. It's important for safety. When I say safety, I mean you don't want your children saying certain things that they should not. So, you know, in America, children like to blurt out everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's kind of like cute. It's funny. But if you're in somewhere else and you might not want people to know something, or it's certain information that you want private, and the children are blurting out things, that can just blow your whole spot up.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely get what you're saying. Having some structure, discipline, just simple self-disciplined children is basically what you're saying. That is key.
Yes, and for making friends and associates. Because, you know, if you're in a foreign place and these people don't know you, so they really don't have to like you. You know, this is not this is not like back home where, you know, you have family that just kind of put up with you. Because, you know, so if the children, once again, if the children are not well behaved, or at least polite,
right,
you know, polite, or, you know, know certain etiquette, people are not going to just put up with you.
right. Mm-hmm.
And you'll be left unsocialized. And you don't want to be like that in a place where you want to socialize and you want to meet people, because they won't say anything. They'll just avoid you.
Absolutely. I completely get it. That makes so much sense. That's a good piece of advice. In general, just living in your own country, but definitely abroad in different countries. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How long do you this is just an extra one. I want to ask you this last question, and then I want to give you opportunity to share anything that you have your hands involved in that you would like the girlfriends to know. But first, I just curious, how long are you all planning to be in Morocco? I think you mentioned that this may be a short time that you may be there and go to another place. Did you mention that to me?
Yes, I did. I'm not sure how much longer we'll be here. You know, I kind of have to just kind of play it by ear according to what my husband has going on.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, he's made different connections and he's establishing things here too. So I don't really know how much longer, but of course I have all these plans in my head. Like, oh, I want to go to this place next, and this place, and this place. And even our oldest son, he's had like a bucket list since he's been 6 years old.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
He's like, I want to go to Australia to see the kangaroos, and I want to go to China to see that big wall that I saw on YouTube. You know? And so, but I've always told him, even, you know, when he's 5, if he said something like that, I said, okay, we'll go one day. Just be ready. I've literally always told him that. Even before we got to France, somehow he had saw the Eiffel Tower. I want to go to the place where that big tower is. I said, okay, we'll go. And this was like a year before. So I just go with it, because I want him to know that you can really do anything that you want to do, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But,
right.
You know, we may not get you that new truck that you want, but you can go wherever you want to go. Right. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
I love it. You're a great example. You're a great example of dream setting and extension of that faith and belief, and then it's happening. So I love it. So tell us, before we end our time together, tell us what you have your hands involved in, anything that you'd like the girlfriends to know that we can come alongside and be a part of this, your venture or whatever you're into.
Okay, well, honestly, I hate to sound, I guess, lame, but really personal endeavors right now, I'm really not into anything right now. And that's only because I just haven't really, I don't know. Honestly, I think I just haven't really been able to, I guess, join a community or really get into anything, because I just finished nursing our 18-month-old.
I gotcha. Completely understand. That's all you had to say. I got it.
I'm not using that as an excuse, but I'm just not catching up on sleep after 18 months. Okay.
You're in a new country. You're finding your way and finding how you live and move in this space with different stuff that you don't have in America. I totally get that. And with little ones and a baby and adjustment and nursing and lack of sleep thereof. So, honey, I totally get it. I totally get it. I get it. So you're right now, you're living and getting your footing to be able to breathe and just, oh, whoa, here's the world, here's the world, here's the world here. So
yeah. And so I've had to tell myself too, like, that's okay.
it is.
You know, because I'm used to doing stuff, being involved. And, you know, because back home we had music lessons, we had, you know, I always had concerts to go to and swimming and play dates and all of this. And I'm like, it's okay not to be doing any of that. Just relax.
Absolutely.
You know?
I give you my Miss Angela Perry stamp of approval on that. And it's okay. That time will come where you get back into all of that stuff. Right now, being a mom, being Shekinah, being who you need to be for you, and then being the mom you need to be for your kids, and then the spouse that you need to be for your husband, and just, you know, all of those things. That's what's important. And I can tell you, and this is a little extra that I ain't planning to say, but if I could do it all again, from raising my younger ones up until now, I was so busy trying to do so many things while they were little, and I missed a lot of things with them when they were little. And I was at home, not working, homeschool mom in the house, but I missed those things because I was involved in Bible study and teaching this class and doing this thing with the women's group and blah, 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 all this stuff with church. And we had this class and all these ballet, and we were just all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, society tells you this is the mold it has to look like, and I fell for it. How they say it, line, hook, and sinker, or whatever, how that goes. I fell for that. And if I could do it all again, I would be like, just slow it down, because there will be a time where they will be gone, and it will be time for all of those things, and they won't miss it. They won't miss a beat if they don't have all the things and involved in all the things. So good for you to be where you are and to escape the mindset that we have operating here, and in the rat race and busyness. Kudos to you, and enjoy all of it. I cannot wait to join you. I cannot wait. Absolutely. I am with you 100%. Cannot wait to join you. So last thing, I do have to ask you this, because the girlfriends may wonder, are you documenting your journey on YouTube or on Facebook or anything like that? Are you doing to that degree at all?
I haven't started yet,
Okay.
but
okay.
It's definitely the goal. I have over 100 journal entries, all these videos,
Okay.
because, you know, I feel like I just have this different take on things that, you know, like two people could look at a picture or see a scenario or an incident, and they'll think two totally different things
Sure.
about them. And I think I'm kind of like that person that people say, I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I never looked at it that way. And I don't really try to be that way, but that's just the way that I am. And so I'm like, okay, I think it's kind of like might be a little fear, because I know that I can be really eccentric and different, to be more vocal and to share these things. But, you know, I think I just that might be the way that I figure this stuff out, that I can really, make sense of what's going on and then still feel connected to everybody back in America.
Yes, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, Shekinah, at the end, and everyone knows the end of the show is always, I end with a $1 million question, $1 million question. And, but you started off our whole interview answering the $1 million question, and you didn't even know it. But here it is. The $1 million question is, if you had to start all over from day to day one, but you have your current knowledge, wisdom, skills, and experiences, what would be something you would change, if you had to start all over again? That's the $1 million question. But right off the bat, you said that, you try to start off with your schooling traditionally, and you stopped, revamped, and you're like, nope, we're going to live life day to day to day to day to day. That's how you started this whole journey off. But is there anything else you would want to start and share with that? If you had to start all over again to day one, either homeschooling Morocco or your journey in general, but you have your current wisdom, knowledge, skills, experiences, convictions, what would it be that you would change?
Okay, honestly, if I could change it, I would prefer to have been, I don't really know how to say this because it kind of takes apart everything. I would have preferred to be a married woman first. And I say this because it was, even though I was doing what I wanted to do, homeschooling, prior to, it was hard. It was really, 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 really hard. And I didn't have as much comfort as I do now, or even the freedom or the flexibility to really make it all work without feeling overwhelmed or burdened. And I think, that can affect the children too when you're even trying to teach them, because they feel that. They're like, mommy's having a bad day, so we're going to have a bad day too. And guess what? Nobody's here to save her or us, so we just gonna ramp it up today. I'm just being honest. Like, the children, they can feel all that. When you don't get a break, when you just kind of have to keep going and make things. When you're just tired, you're doing it, but it's like, you're just too tired. And I remember being so tired. And I just wish that I would have, because I would have been more relaxed and able to just flow, because even now I have the confidence to even be an unschooler, because I'm like, I don't care what nobody say, like, I don't care, because I can do that now. I'm not tired all of the time, and the children are happier. There's more stability. I think that more than anything, that the children need stability. Even before, they're not really worried about the ABCs if they don't really know what's going to happen the next day. Like, when you just gonna go off, go off, blow your top, or just something crazy is gonna happen. And so I just wish that, I don't wish that, but if I could, because like I said, things have worked out. I know that a certain measure of grace has been over my life, thankfully. But definitely that is something, because I think that's important because homeschooling, that's the home. The home comes first. Even in the word homeschooling, home comes first.
Yep.
And home is important if that's where you're going to be teaching school at or anything. You know, and so yeah, so that's what I would have, that's what I would do differently. Even our oldest son, he asked me one time, he said, well, why didn't you just get married sooner? I'm like, hold on, who told you to ask these type of questions?
Wow, okay. Good question, son. I wonder. Yes.
I'm like, look, here now, okay? Just be happy. But so that's probably the only thing, just so I could have been more relaxed and more able to enjoy the moment.
I love it. Well, girlfriends, listen, you are the average sum of the 5 people you hang out with. And this hour you've been hanging out with Shekinah McKinstry out of Morocco, Africa. Yes. So listen, keep up the momentum. Go connect with some other girlfriends who's going to bring some positivity into your life, into your homeschooling journey, into your confidence to homeschool. Get connected. And then you be that positive resource that others can draw from, that will encourage them in their journey. Be sure to connect with all the homeschooling resources I have out there for you so that you can be encouraged, strengthened, equipped, and walk in the freedom that you should as you homeschool your children, just like Shekinah said, okay? All right, with Shekinah, Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling is so grateful to you and appreciates you for giving up your time, your energy, your effort, your story, even while you are abroad in Morocco this very moment, to come on the show and to share. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful and so glad to be connected to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And girlfriends, listen, as always, remember that to teach a child is to touch a life. And as we homeschool, we not only touch a life, we shape the future through our efforts of homeschooling. So keep making a positive impact day after day, year after year. And like she kind of said, the most important thing that you can teach your child, honestly, than all the academics that's out there is self-control, self-discipline, etiquette, manners, and just self-awareness and care for others. Let's make sure we do that part of homeschooling from when they're little bitty all the way until at least the 4th grade. But if you starting late, then don't wait. Just do it. Okay, that's the most important resources and tools and gifts and academics we can give our children. All right. So thanks, Shekinah, again. We will be in touch. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Girlfriends, hit the share button. Go over to all the resources. They will be in the show notes, how you can get connected and be equipped in your journey. All right. So this is Angela Jordan Perry. Thank you for joining. Peace. Bye, Shekinah.
Bye. Thank you.